Hi, ladies. It's Danielle here again to share with you another Wow Woman Worship moment. And I wanted to just speak freely tonight about something that the Lord has really been challenging me with this past couple months, I should say, um, just in my own life. And I wanted to share this word of encouragement for you. And the Lord gave it to me in, 3 steps. And one of the things that He's been sharing with me is to discern the season. And there's a lot of stuff going on right now in my own personal life, but also in the atmosphere in the earth. And just like in the natural state, the seasons are shifting and changing. It's moving from the summer months into the fall. It gives us a clue to how God operates. And the reality is, God generally, when He is shifting and moving, shows you early signs that something is about to change. So, just like we see in the natural, as the leaves start to lose their, the trees start to lose their leaves, and the season shifts and colors change from very vibrant colors in the spring to very dull colors, very muted earth tones in the fall. There's usually signs in the spiritual and in the natural when a season is about to change. And the Lord has really been dealing with me on seeing the signs and not preparing to move or not preparing to change. And we do this all the time in our natural environment. You'll notice that one day it's kind of cool, and so instead of it being warm like it was the day before, it starts to get a little cool, a little chilly, and you do what? You find a jacket to put on. And then you're prepared the next day, ready with your jacket. But sometimes in the spiritual realm, we don't do the same thing. We will see sign after sign after sign, and God will say, listen, I'm about to shift, I'm about to change, I am about to turn things in a different direction, and we will not prepare emotionally or spiritually for that shift. And so that's the first step. We have to be in a position to discern the season as God is preparing to move or preparing to change, preparing to plant, uproot, to shift. You have to be able to look at what God is telling you in the moment so that you can be prepared for step number 2, which is anticipate and prepare for the change. So sometimes we get all these signs, like I said, and we take no action. And we would never really do that in the natural. It would be asinine to go into the winter months and have all the ability to prepare and get a winter coat and not do so. We have to be in a position to not only see the sign, but then anticipate the changes that are going to happen or need to be made in the next season. And you have to not only physically prepare for a change, but actually emotionally and spiritually prepare for a change, because what has taken you through one season will not be sufficient for the next. And we see that again, we see that in the natural. You will notice that in June, most people have short sleeves if it's a really hot day. They're not going to be walking around in a snowsuit. That would be crazy. You would say, that is strange, that is odd, something's not right with that. But sometimes in the spiritual, we don't make that shift, and so we're using old gifts, old talents. And I'm not saying that they're not useful. I'm saying that sometimes the season demands a shift and demands a change. Short sleeves are absolutely useful all times of year. A snowsuit is still useful, but it's only useful in the right season. And so sometimes we have to anticipate and then prepare to change, because a lot of us have done things the same way for a really long time, and it's worked for a really long time. So we have difficulty changing, we have difficulty moving forward, because we're so used to the same routine, the same way, the same formula that we've done in the past. And it's not that the formula is bad, it's that it might be insufficient for the season that you're in. And the Lord really has been dealing with me on that, because sometimes we can generally run on our own juice because we've been doing it for so long. It's monotonous. We do it over and over and over again. And the reality is, if the season shifts and change, sometimes the methodology has to also shift and change, and what worked before will not be effective. And so you have to anticipate and then prepare for a change. And the third thing the Lord shared with me is you have to operate in and embrace the new season. So I don't know about you, I struggle with change. I like things to be in a way that I understand them, the way that I can grasp them, and I like routine. I like things to be predictable in some aspect of my life. The change creates anxiety. And partially it creates anxiety because I haven't done those first two steps that we just talked about. Because if I am anticipating, if I can see it and I anticipate and then I prepare, then I can operate and embrace the new season. So when I fail to do that, it produces a level of anxiety in me that I'm uncomfortable with. But God has said, he is constant. So though the season is changing and things are changing around you in the earth and in the spiritual realm, that does not mean that God changes, even though the scene might change, the season might change, the scenery might change, your methods might change. God is always constant. And so I wanted to encourage you, ladies, to walk in the new season and operate in it effectively by knowing that God changes not. So whatever you're going through in this particular time, whether it's a really hard time, whether it's a time of elevation, whether it's a time of shifting and changing, that God is always there with us. He's always constant. He does not change. So there is comfort in knowing that God changes not. And so the same level of love, the same level of intention, the same level of support, the same level of guidance is always there with us. So even when you feel like you might be grasping at straws because everything is different, God will allow you to operate and embrace that new season when you cling to him, when you recognize that he doesn't change even though things around you has. So you just want to make sure that you embrace the new season, because sometimes we'll resist the change so much that we'll stay stuck, we'll stay stagnant, we'll stay in an old season. We will cease to be, not only will we cease to be effective, but we'll cease to bear fruit because we're operating out of season. So I just wanted to share that with you, ladies. I know that that was a lot of information. Please, watch it again if I spoke too fast. But the Lord has really been challenging me to do those three things that we talked about, especially the whole concept of embracing and operating in the new season. It can be jolting, it can be scary, especially if you haven't prepared. But if you have, and you can always prepare if you know what's coming. If you have, the next step is really to operate on what you know. God will give you the knowledge, he'll give you the revelation, he'll give you the plan, he'll give you the strategy if you remain connected to him, because he is constant. So be encouraged, ladies. As the physical season changes, so does our spiritual and emotional seasons as well. So I just want you to be prepared for that, and I'll keep you in prayer. Thanks.